Our guest is Philip Patrick. He's the precious metal specialist and analyst over at Birch Gold. The dollar is being trashed and is under huge assault. And we know that the Chinese Communist Party, in trying to control the Eurasian landmass, has got their partners in Pakistan and the mullahs in Iran, Turkey, Erdogan, and Russia now. They're all, with the vassal state of North Korea, they're all trying to figure out the One Belt, One Road, crypto, all of it, an alternative. It's not easy, right? Because these are not economies that got a lot of depth to them, and their dollar and their currency certainly does, but it's under assault. That being said, then, what are the alternatives? How? And I know you're not a day trader, and the Birch Gold guys, you're not day traders and spot things of gold and silver. But why is precious metal? Why are you guys? Why is it even an alternative for people to think about in days when you see what could potentially happen with inflation, or more importantly, what could happen with the devaluation of the dollar?
Look, I think you summarize. It's not that gold and silver are better than other options. It's all about the climate and what's going to be most conducive. And I think today we've highlighted many of the issues, right? We have inflation as a concern here in the United States. We have dollar devaluation as a concern here in the United States. We have a stock market that's 2.5 years into the longest bull run in history. We have concerns about corrections there. It's in those sort of climates that safe haven assets like gold and silver perform, right? So they're conducive, right? To give you an example, when stocks crash, people often flood towards safe haven assets. They can increase in value. 2008, we saw a 50% decline in the equity market. And within 18 months of that decline, gold and silver prices doubled in value. What is the technical definition of inflation? Essentially, it is the rising cost of commodities and services over time. What are gold and silver? By definition, they are commodities. By definition, they keep pace with inflation. Gold specifically and the dollar have a directly inverse relationship. When the dollar falls in value, by proxy, gold prices increase. So they can be very conducive for climates like this.
How do you, when you do the analysis of the dollars you project out, is it the continual deficits we're talking about? Because right now we're going to spend another $4 trillion, $4.2 trillion in just the regular federal budget. You've still got this drop in aggregate demand that we keep putting these bridging mechanisms, which is now at $6 trillion. And they're talking about another unbelievably $4 trillion in infrastructure. And then the second is kind of the Green New Deal, which I think is essentially social engineering because they don't really have a specific plan of what they're trying to do. What kind of pressure do you think the dollar is going to come if all that, by this fall, if all that's done?
Look, the dollar's been under pressure for a while. We get very comfortable with our position as global reserve currency, right? But I think any student of history has to understand that this circles, right? Before the US had it, it was Great Britain, where I'm from originally. They had global reserve currency from 1815 until 1946 at Bretton Woods. Prior to that, I think Portugal, France, Spain. So global reserve currency circulates throughout history. I think on average, one nation will hold it for about 90 years. So we're coming up to the point where just historical averages suggest we lose it. And it's the things that you mentioned earlier that I think are key, right? Russia, China, two of the largest emerging economies, have been putting pressure for a long time now to remove the dollar as the standard for international trade. The OPEC, the oil producing nations, have been putting that pressure on as well. And the reality is, as much as a world run by China frightens me, you have to think about it impartially, right? If you're China, Russia, or Canada, you're holding trillions of dollars in reserve, and you're watching the US government, the Federal Reserve, printing money, debasing the currency. It becomes a problem.